Dear students, hope you are safe and healthy. My name is Mudassar Abbas and I am a lecturer in Institute of Business Studies, Kohat University of Science and Technology. My area of specialization is human resource management, and this subject is about principles of management with the code of BS 121. This lesson is number 3 and it's about organizational culture and environment and the relevant constraints. Okay, before going into the detail of the lesson, let me share with you 2 reference books that you can use as a reference. These books are easily available in the market and you can also download them from internet for free. The first book is Principles of Management and its Application. That is written by Ricky W. Griffin. You can download any edition of this. We have 10th edition and onward. The second book is Management by Stephen P. Robbins and Mary Coulter. So you can download any of this book and make it as a reference book. Both books are very readers friendly. Okay, now we will discuss about strong culture and weak cultures. Actually, all the organizations have culture, but not all cultures equally influence the employees' behaviors and actions. Strong culture is actually those in which the key values are deeply held and widely shared. They have a greater influence on employees than do the weak cultures. The more employees accept the organization's key values and the greater their commitment to those values, the stronger the culture is. Most organizations have actually you can say moderate to strong culture. That is, there is relatively high agreement on what is important, what defines good employee behavior, what it takes to get ahead, and so forth. Strong cultures actually the stronger the culture becomes, the more it affects the way managers plans, organize, lead, and control. So there is a quite clear difference between strong cultures and weak cultures. In strong cultures, the key values, as I mentioned earlier, are deeply held and widely shared, while in strong cultures they have a greater influence on employees than do the weak culture. The employees are more committed to the organizations that have the strong culture. Strong cultures are actually associated with high organizational performance. That means the stronger the culture is, there will be quite significant improvement in the performance. So as I mentioned earlier, like most of the organizations have strong to moderate cultures. So in strong cultures, values are widely shared, as I mentioned earlier, while in weak cultures, values are limited to few people, usually top management. Like the top management in weak culture only cares about values. In strong culture, the culture convey consistent message about what is important. while in weak culture, culture sends contradictory messages about what is important. Like in weak culture, some people will believe that quality is important, while the other will believe quantity is important. In strong culture, most employees can tell stories about the company history and heroes, while in weak cultures, employees have a little knowledge of what company history or heroes were. In strong culture, employees strongly identify with culture, while in weak culture, employees have little identification with the culture. In strong culture, there is a strong connection between shared values and behaviors, while on the other hand, in weak culture, there is little connection between shared values and behaviors. So you can see that there are quite many differences between strong culture and weak culture. Now, since we have a detailed discussion on the strong culture and the weak culture in the organization, now the question arises where the culture comes from, or what are the sources of the culture. Now, one of the important source of culture is the vision and mission of the founder. So whatever is in the mind of the founder will definitely be reflected in the culture of the organization. For example, Elon Musk's SpaceX program is actually reflecting the founder's vision. He had an idea in mind that there should be a kind of project which is the way of communication or movement between the earth and the space. So he started a project. Now the company has launched a couple of missions into the space. So you can say that the organization which he established, the culture in that organization is influenced by Elon Musk's mission or vision. Okay, now another question is how employees learn about culture. So there are different ways by which employees can learn about culture. Okay, one of the source of learning culture is stories. Organizational stories typically contain narratives of the significant events or people, including such things as organization's founder, rule breaking, reaction to past mistakes, and so forth. Managers, for example, managers at one of the leading airline of United States of America, such as Southwest Airline, tells stories celebrating employees who perform heroically for customers. Such stories help in conveying what's important and provide examples that people can learn from it. Similarly, there is another company, 3M, So at 3M company, the product innovation stories are legendary. There are stories about the 3M scientist who spilled chemicals on her tennis shoes and came up with the Scotch Guard. So in the same way, you can say there are some stories in Pakistan. For example, there is one organization which was established before Pakistan. Its name is Packages Limited. So when you go to that organization, you will find a copy of the checkbook that was signed by the founder of that organization, and it was presented to the government of Pakistan because at that time in 1947 the government don't have any money to pay to the government employees as salaries. So the owner of Packages Limited gave a blank checkbook. So it give a feeling of having the culture of financial support to the needy ones. So another source of such culture are rituals. Okay, the corporate rituals are repetitive sequences of activities that expresses and reinforces the important values and goals in the organizations. So we can say that in addition to stories, such repetitive sequences of activities also help the new employees in learning the culture. Similarly, another source of culture is material symbols. Material symbols convey to the employees who is important and the kinds of behaviors, for example, risk-taking, conservative, authoritarian, participative, individualistic, or so forth, that are expected or seems to be appropriate to the working condition of the organizations. Similarly, another source of culture is language. So many organizations, or you can say units within the organizations, use language as a way to identify and unite members of the culture. By learning this language, members attest to their acceptance of the culture and their willingness to help to preserve it. Over time, organizations often develop a unique term to describe equipments, key personnel, customers, processes, suppliers, or some products related to its business. New employees are frequently overwhelmed with acronyms or jargons that after a short period of time become the natural part of their language. So the organizations help the employees in learning their culture not only through formal language but also through certain unique terminologies, or you can say jargons. Okay, now we will discuss about how culture affects manager. Actually, culture establishes appropriate managerial behavior. That means the management or the manager's behavior is always and expected to be according to the culture. it constrains decision making in all management functions. Like an organization's culture, basically the strong one, influences and constrains the way managers plan, organize, lead and control. So when we talk about planning, how culture affect planning, the degree of risk that plan should contain depends upon the culture. If the culture of the organization is to go for more risky ventures, that will be reflected in planning. And whether plans should be developed by individuals or teams, that will also depend upon culture. As we mentioned in the dimensions, one of the dimension in our earlier lectures was about team based and individuals. So the degree of planning will be one of the other thing to be considered in the organization, that whether that planning should be done individually or in teams. And also the degree of environmental scanning in which the management is engaged is also influenced by the culture of the organization. Similarly, the second management function, which is organizing, is also influenced by the culture. For example, how much autonomy should be designed to employees' job, like how much autonomy should be given to the employees, whether tasks should be done individually or in teams, or the degree to which department managers interact with one another. So all the functions or activities that are performed in organizing are also influenced by culture. The third function of leading is also influenced by culture, like the degree to which managers are concerned with increasing employee job satisfaction, and what leadership style is appropriate, whether it is autocratic, laissez-faire or democratic. That also depends upon culture of the organization. Like if there is a laissez-faire leadership style, you cannot implement autocratic, because already the people or employees are aligned to the laissez-faire leadership style. Last one is controlling. Yes, this is also one of the function that is influenced by organization's culture, like whether to impose external control or to allow employees to control their own actions. Like if the culture of the organization is self rectification or self control, any kind of external control implementation will lead to drastic negative consequences. Similarly, what criteria should be emphasized in employees' performance evaluations, like the criteria that is designed for employee evaluation should also not be against the culture of the organization. So we can say that in the organization, the managers activities or functions that the managers perform, that are planning, organizing, leading and controlling, are one way or other influenced by the culture of the organization.